Welcome to Speed Bump Garage. My name is Kent, and as you can see, we are back on our school bus RV conversion this week. This episode is going to be all about prepping, priming, and painting our floor in this rig. If you haven't been here before, this school bus is something that I bought at an auction. My two sons actually used to ride this bus. This was their school bus. We went to the auction. Kind of looked at it just thought it was funny that it was their old bus. And I ended up buying it just because it went so cheap. Gave $1,125 for it. Smoking deal. It's got 100,000 miles on it. Has a big cat diesel in it. It's just a really nice bus. It's a 2005. And we're in it cheap enough. We decided we'd try to make an RV out of it. We don't really know what we're doing, but we're going to figure it out. As you can see, we've got all the seats out of it. In the last episode, pulled all the seats. And also stripped all the rubber flooring out of it. Now we're ready to get something on this because I think this is like a galvanized coated metal and we need to get it coated so we can prevent any more of this rust. You can see we did have two rusty spots there that we put some of the Rust-Oleum rust converter on it. I think is what it's called. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. But right now, before we coat the whole flooring, we need to get all these holes filled in. All these holes where the seats were bolted in, and then we have little holes here where the trim that held that rubber flooring in went. Got a lot of holes. I have seen some other people just glue or silicone pennies down over all those holes. I think that would be a really easy, cheap way to do this, and we may go that route. But we're gonna start with, I'm gonna set my welder up in there. I'm going to just do a test run on a few of them to see what kind of time we're looking at to weld and grind those holes, because that's what I would prefer, so we don't have to worry about a silicone or an adhesive failing underneath the pennies. Let's get the welder in there and we'll see what we can get done. Got to do that first. I've already bought the primer and paint, so we'll get through that. Let's get right into it. That back door is not tall enough for my bottle to go in it standing up, so we're gonna have to lay it down and slide it in and then stand it up. This is a Millermatic 252. It's a bigger wire machine. I think a guy could do it with just a 110 machine if he had it. I don't have one.
Toad came out from under your track. Alright, you're on it.
Well, that worked all right. Once again, the skid steer is an irreplaceable piece of equipment. Alright, we need an extension cord out here. Some long sleeves, we'll start welding. Alright, I think we're ready. Got everything rounded up, got all my safety gear, and I want to talk about a few of the hazards of doing this before we get started. First off is going to be your inhalation hazard. I do think this floor's got a little bit of a coating on it. The smart way to do this would be probably have some sort of respirator on. I don't have one. So this is a do as I say, not as I do scenario. I'm going to try to substitute the respirator with good ventilation. So I'm going to have a box fan in each fire hatch, in each escape hatch rather, and I'm going to have all the windows open. We're going to try to get as much ventilation as possible that way. Second thing, grounding. I'm going to try to ground. I'm going to use this third hand to ground on the sheet that I'm welding on. That way we're not arcing on any of the electronics for this bus. Something else I've done for a protection on that, the battery's unhooked on the bus. Eye protection. I've got a good quality welding hood, which I would recommend everybody that's going to get into welding get a good quality hood. You got to protect your eyes. I use a speed glass. And this is a pretty expensive hood. It's probably like a $400 hood. They're high dollar, I love them, but eye protection is super important to me. Jack uses a Lincoln Electric Viking. Now these are a really good hood, a lot more affordable if you just get the plain Jane black one. I think these are like 150 bucks. If you're thinking of getting into welding, buy a quality name brand hood. What else? Oh, ear protection. That's something that wasn't taught to me when I came through welding school. So I'm pretty big on teaching my kids, we wear ear protection. So when we're working in this tin can, whether it's welding, hammering, grinding, we're gonna wear ear protection. What I'm gonna do is just wear a good pair of noise canceling earbuds. I'm gonna have something playing just to kind of make this process go by faster. But a good pair of earbuds, foam earplugs, whatever you can do, protect your ears in your build process because it's gonna be noisy in here. I think that's it. That's my main safety concern. I do have a little bit of fire concern too. I'm gonna have Jack working around the outside while I'm doing this on fire watch. There's a chance we could have a fire start under the bus that I wouldn't know about. So have another person watching for fires, especially if you're just gonna be under the hood hammering this out. Have somebody watching your back so you don't burn your bus down. I am using my Millermatic 252, using 030 wire. Probably gonna start around 15, 16 amps and see how this goes. Let's get into it. All right, so I've got the first sheet done, or the last sheet, I guess. This is the back of the bus. I got the back sheet and then the little filler panel. The little spots, man, you can really just spot them. They fill right up. The seat bolts are taking a little bit more, and this definitely does have some galvanized on it. You see that white kind of burning off there. So we definitely want to be careful about breathing this stuff in. I do have the exhaust fans going. Some of the windows are open, but I'm gonna try to set you guys up and show you how I'm doing these seat bolt holes. The little trim ones, man, you can really just spot those because they're tiny. That's probably like 1/8 of an inch. But for the most part, it's going pretty well. That went pretty fast, and that had a lot more trim pieces all the way across the back. I think these center sheets are gonna go super fast because we've only got holes in the center. The outside of the seats were bolted up on this rail. I don't think this is gonna take a whole lot of time. We need to just get under the hood and get it done, but I will try to get you guys a lens on and see if I can show you how I'm doing those. It's not welding great. It's popping a little bit. I am running at 17 amps. I do think the hotter you can get away with, the faster this is gonna go. I'd probably be a little bit safer to turn it down to 15, but I prefer welding as hot as I can because it increases your wire speed, which in turn makes you get done faster. So let's try to set up. I'll get you guys on one, then I'm really gonna hunker down and try to get this done pretty quickly. I've got 2 holes right here, 1 and 2. I'm just gonna run around the perimeter of it and then fill it. Run around the perimeter of it and fill it. Some of these are pretty high where like maybe those seats were bent up a little bit. While it's hot, you can give it a little tap after you're done. These don't feel that high. I might give this one a little bit of tap. Well, I just looked at that clip. That actually worked pretty good. So that was a auto darkening lens, which actually lets you see through it until you arc. And then it goes dark to protect your eyes. So that was a little bit of flashing you've seen there. This stuff isn't welding great. That's kind of what you get when you have something with a galvanized coating on it. But it is welding. It's working pretty decent. Like good clean metal, that popping and me starting and stopping, you wouldn't have that. So it's not typical, but it is welding good enough. We've got it sealed up. I'm gonna get under the hood, try to get this thing hammered out so we can move on to the next step. Got them all done. That didn't take near as long as I thought it was going to. And I will say the most helpful part was this little guy, this little third hand. This makes it, it's just kind of weighted, and I hooked my ground on it and I could set it right on the sheets that I was welding on. If it wasn't for this, it would have been really difficult to keep a ground throughout the whole process. So if you're gonna do this, throw you something together like that to help with grounding. I think you're gonna probably hit a lot of these spots with the grinder, wire wheel, and then probably hit some of these seams with that rust converter a little more. Rust reformer is what they call it. Instantly converts rust to a protective, paintable surface. I'm gonna get the welder and everything back out of here for now, then we'll move on to the next step. Got all of our welds smoothed out. I went ahead and made another pass over the whole floor with the grinder as I was smoothing them out. And then I was taking our rust reformer and I was gonna hit all the seams between these sheets and along the walls with that. And I had 2 cans of it, and my second can won't spray. It sprayed for about 10 seconds and then it plugged off inside of it. I've changed the tip on it. I just don't think it's gonna work. We are gonna try to figure out what's under this. The fuel tank I know is there, so I don't know if that's an access door to the fuel pump maybe. I did talk to the mechanics that used to service this fleet of buses, and it looked like this bus had a fuel pump in it before, and where this is already missing a few screws, that's possibly where that repair was made. I don't know, but we need to figure out what's there to know if we have to leave access to that. Not looking like Jack's having much luck with the screws.
Oh, they're in there good.
Anyways, I think that's gonna be it for today. First thing in the morning, we'll probably come out and get everything wiped down and start putting our Rust-Oleum primer down. We're gonna roll the next coat on, then on to paint. So that's it for today. Well, it's the next day, and I was just running through the footage from yesterday, and I did not realize how much better this floor looked after hitting it with the grinder until I saw the transition on video. But we did get the cover off this little access door last night, and I believe what we have here is the fuel level sensor. I think that's your level gauge for the fuel tank, fuel fill hose, and then I guess probably like the supply hose for the pump and like a vent. I do think we better cut a smaller piece of our OSB floor decking so we can access that if we need to. Probably will be a little bit of a chore because you'll have to pull our final floor up, but I will leave an access door for that because if that fuel level gauge quit working, it'd be a really big chore to have to drop the tank for it. So I think we better leave access for that. I'm gonna get that button back on there, sealed up. We got to get everything wiped down, and we'll start putting some primer down.
There was a bunch of dirt in there.
While Jack's in the bus getting everything wiped down and ready to paint, I want to go ahead and show you the products that we're using. I did choose to go with Rust-Oleum on everything, mostly just because how readily available it is. You can get it pretty much anywhere. All your big box stores have it. And I'm going to start with the Rusty Metal Primer. Now, this is a direct to metal primer. I don't know that it's necessary since we use the Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer on all of our rust spots, but I don't think it'll hurt. That's what we're going to start with. It is a oil-based primer. There's the number on it, 7769402. Then we're going to do the gloss white. This is also an oil-based product, and I don't really care about the color. I just grabbed a gallon of white. I thought white would be easy to tell where we've coated and where we haven't, but it's going to get covered up anyway, so color really doesn't matter. I will look and see if I can find some Amazon links for these. I did get these at Lowe's, I think. If Amazon isn't priced fairly on them, I will not add them, but if you see the link down there, just know it's probably a fair price and it can ship right to your door. I was looking around the shop for a stir stick for this primer. Didn't have one, so I took an old welding rod, knocked all the flux off of it, added a few little curly cues in it. We're gonna stick that on a drill. Look at that guy. Let's see how this works. That's better than a stick anyway. I'm afraid to go full blast in it. It's pretty out of balance. It was really difficult to get all the dirt out of here. We've swept it about 4 times. We're just gonna get after it. We're gonna get our exhaust fans back going, and Jack's gonna start at the back with the roller, work our way to the front, and I'm gonna edge it out with a brush.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yep.
Are you a painter?
Sure.
All right, let's try this out. I think it's funny the rusty metal primer is actually rust colored.
Is it rusty metal primer or is it rusty metal color?
High performance rusty metal primer. I don't think that means that it's just rusty color.
We looked for so long for rusty metal primer.
It says provides the best base surface on heavily rusted metal. Yeah, and it's rusty metal color. I'm not gonna lie, I was worried there for a second.
Oh.
There you go. I thought I had another roller and we were gonna just get after this, but we only got one. So I think I'll just have my painter do it. It's actually going really fast too. All right, I'm gonna put the camera down, get my brush, start going around the little stuff up here. Well, that is going really fast. We're exactly 20 minutes in and pretty much have our first coat complete. Jack's almost painted himself all the way into a trap. Working really well. This rusty metal primer is super thick. Covers really well.
Yeah.
It's been probably 3 hours and it is completely dry and looks really good. It makes it look so much better just having everything one color. I do think we're gonna go ahead and put one more coat of this red primer on. We only used a little less than half a gallon, so we got plenty to do one more coat, and I think that's really good stuff. So we will pick this video back up when we start painting some white paint on there. Well guys, the work week snuck up on me and I did not get the white painted in this episode like I wanted to, but man, look how good those 2 coats of primer look. It looks so much better being one color, and I am fired up about this project now. That really makes it look a lot nicer and really just brings together the blank canvas we're working with. Next episode, we'll probably go ahead and get that white down. It'll be the same process. We're just gonna roll it on right over this primer and maybe start pulling some tape lines for our floor plan. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am really excited about this build. I'm so happy you're here with us. We'll see you on the next episode.